Welcome, everybody. I am completely delighted to welcome you to NYU Wagner. I'll add my welcome along with the many others that I'm sure you've been receiving today. My name is Erica Foldy. I lead PNP. I also lead the management specialization, and I co-direct the Capstone program. And I'll be talking with you today about PNP. Before I do that, I want to ask some people in the audience to stand up. So along with me, here to kind of tell you all about the school, we have faculty. If I could ask the faculty to stand up. Should be roughly one per, yeah, not one per table. Okay, thank you. And we have alumni. Can I ask the alumni to stand up? Lovely. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. And we have current students. Could I ask them to stand up? All right, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. The way this is going to work is that we're going to spend approximately half an hour. I'll do some talking. There will be time for Q&A. And then we'll have some more mingling at the end. And we actually encourage you to switch tables and to meet some new faculty, new alums, new admitted students, and just have a different group of people to speak with. So I want to congratulate you for getting into the Wagner program with the longest name. We don't even try to spell it out anymore. It's just too long for us. But it does stand for Masters of Public Administration in Public and Nonprofit Management and Policy. So we've given up and we just call it PNP. Along with having the longest name, it's also the biggest program. About 55% of students are in PNP. It's the broadest program, and so you have a lot of choice in this program. And that's a great thing. And it also means that the program can be a little bit more complex than some of the other programs. And I'm here to try to untangle some of that complexity for you. I'll go through the slides, but I actually encourage you to stop me at any point if you have questions. I think it always makes it more interesting if it's interactive. And I also want to invite the faculty, the current students, and the alums to chime in. Some of you know more about what I'm talking about than I do. So please feel free to chime in, clarify, help in whatever way. So you've been, oops, what are you doing here? Why Wagner, there we go. So I think people have been talking with you about why Wagner all morning. I'm going to add my particular version of this. So the first thing is that Wagner's all about impact. You've seen the homepage. You know it says, how will you make your impact in the world? This is one of the things I love about being at Wagner. And so as a student, you're doing more than accumulating knowledge and learning skills, both very important, but you're actually learning how are you going to make your mark on the world? How are you going to make a difference? That's, to me, that's one of the things that makes Wagner special. Theory and practice. You've been learning probably a lot about this as well. In order to make your mark, or certainly to make it in a way that makes a positive difference, it helps to have both theory and practice. So you'll be learning a number of different frameworks in all of your courses, and we need frameworks to make sense of the enormous complexity that is public service work. But then you can also be immersed in practice, and that happens in a variety of ways. It happens through case studies, through field trips to various organizations, certainly through Capstone, guest speakers. It also happens a lot with the student groups and a variety of other programming that we have for you. Wagner's about both breadth and depth. That's particularly true of PNP. It's a very broad program, has a lot under its particular umbrella. All PNP students and all MPA students are required to take 5 core courses, because we believe there is a very broad foundation that everyone needs. And we believe that because people wander across sectors, they go in and out of public, nonprofit, and private organizations, different roles, different issue areas, different communities, and for that reason we think a broad foundation is really helpful. But after those core courses, or actually even as you're taking those core courses, you're also choosing a specialization and going very deep and gaining expertise in one particular area. Flexibility. You can move from part-time to full-time back again. That's important. Multidisciplinary approach. So I love the fact that I get to work, my degree is in organization studies. I came out of a business school. but I get to work with economists, political scientists, psychologists, sociologists, people with degrees in law, public administration, health administration. I get tremendous richness in for my own teaching and my own research through that multidisciplinarity, and I think it also really adds to the student experience. And then finally, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Those are very common buzzwords these days. I like to think that we actually grapple with these issues in ways that many other places do not. EDI is at the absolute heart of public service, and therefore it is at the heart of Wagner as well. So we keep this in mind when we think about learning and curriculum, student events and programming, our research, bringing in students, bringing in new faculty and staff. It's always in our minds. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the student journey. You'll start with the new student retreat in August. You could meet people there that will be lifelong colleagues and friends. You'll learn more details about Wagner, the courses, the programs, et cetera, but what you'll really learn is you'll learn who we are. What's our identity? Who are we as a school? That's a really important piece, really important beginning to your journey. And that's also the place where you start, actually it's the place where you become a Wagnerd. I don't know if you've heard that term. Have you heard Wagnerds? Yes, Wagnerds. So we're very proud of being Wagnerds, and really basically once you enter that retreat, you're an honorary Wagnerd right then. Okay, that's a new student retreat. There are 5 core courses that everyone takes. You can see them listed here. I'm not going to go through them. I will say that you're going to be going to some course tables after this session. You're going to explore lots of different courses. None of the core courses are going to be there, but we do want to emphasize that they're super important, and they do provide this very strong foundation for the rest of your work. All right, so many of you have already indicated an interest in a specialization. You'll later in your first semester, you'll either confirm that or you can change that. As I was mentioning to someone at the table, if you're kind of on the fence between 2 different specializations, it's very helpful to take courses related to those specializations in your first semester, because that'll help give you a lot of information to make that decision. But so once you've chosen that specialization, then you start working on the core courses for that specialization, 2, 3, 4 required courses you have to take. Then you take what are called constrained electives, so you have a choice, but within a relatively limited number of courses. And then finally, you have your full electives. You can take anything at Wagner, and you can also take dozens, if not hundreds, of courses around the university. So you have a huge kind of buffet of courses to choose from for that. Then you will be part of Capstone. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. And we also, many of our students are doing internships while they're at Wagner. Some of them are working, doing internships, and going to school. That seems really complicated to me, but people have different ways of kind of assembling the different components. But we really strongly encourage students, particularly those with less work experience, to also do internships. Just for a moment, I'm going to stop here and see if anyone has anything to add, any questions at this point. Okay. All right, I'll keep going. Okay, so our specializations. These are getting more complicated. When I arrived here in 2003, we had 4 specializations, and that was the case for 12 years or so. And then the last couple of years, we've just added 2 more. And we're really excited about them. We're excited about all our specializations. So I'm going to go through and describe these, but there are people in the room who know more about some of these than I do, so I really encourage you to chime in. Okay, so this is our newest specialization, is advocacy and political action. And this is students who are interested in this particular specialization want to push very directly and openly and loudly for social change, political change, social justice. You combine coursework in advocacy, organizing, policy formation, communications, and several other kind of foundations to this work. And the kinds of students who are attracted to the specialization imagine themselves post-graduation, and may already be actually, organizers, activists, advocates and lobbyists, campaign staff, right? So people who really want to get into the scrum of political and social change. The financial management and public finance includes these two pieces. Financial management's more about managing within an organization, being the the CFO or the budget officer, whatever, within an organization. Public finance is about how public institutions raise money and spend money. And the kinds of students who are attracted to this are imagining careers as budget analysts, chief financial officers, business or investment analysts, finance directors, those kinds of jobs. The international program is one of our specializations. They get their own room and their own table, so I won't go into a lot of detail here. I'll just say that it tends to focus on international development. There's something of a change, a little bit more in the area of international affairs, international relations. If you end up having questions about that, we might be able to help you, or we can send you over. Okay, management and leadership. So we just changed our name. I lead the management specialization. So we've been management for years, but we realized that we were teaching both management and leadership, and we also really feel that people need to learn both sets of skills. So we decided to rename ourselves. In the end, we are training people to be managers in public and nonprofit organizations. Some schools have separate programs in nonprofit management, separate in public management. We believe that people are probably going to be crossing those lines a lot, so we prepare people for management jobs in for-profit organizations as well. So the idea is you get a set of skills that you can take anywhere. And the kinds of students who are more likely to be in this specialization, they imagine themselves as being executive directors or CEOs. A lot of them are in fundraising and development, program directors, consulting. Consulting is an increasing area of interest for our students across the board, including in management. Foundation staff, those are some of the roles that management student may play. Public policy analysis, often, not always, but often attracts students who have a passion for a particular area. Criminal justice, the environment, education, healthcare. Often those students end up in the policy specialization. And they take courses in policy formation, policy development. They also take additional statistics courses as part of that specialization. And they often go into positions as advocates for a particular policy area, but also analysts, public policy analysts who try to determine the impact of particular policies, compare the impact of multiple policies. These folks may also end up as the staff of legislators, legislative aides. They may also work in various city departments or kind of agency staff. And then finally we have our longest, the longest named specialization, social impact, innovation, and investment. We call it SI cubed, because again, we can't really say these words all at the same time. And this is also one of our newer specializations. We're really excited about it. And it combines, students there are required to take coursework in entrepreneurship, policy formation, finance, operations, and several other areas as well. And these folks are going to end up in a few different places. They may be very interested in creating a startup, and we have a couple of startups, more than a couple of startups that have come out of Wagner that we're very proud of. These students might want to be intrapreneurs, meaning they may want to start a new program, but within an existing organization. And some of them want to use the tools of investment and finance to advocate and push for social change, and not just for their own profit. So those are the specializations. I'm going to stop here again, see if anyone wants to add anything. Okay, that's exciting. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. Okay, that's good. That's good. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Capstone. I'm sure you've been hearing about it. Capstone is the end event for all our MPA students. Students work in teams of 3 to 5, and you work on a project for a client organization. Virtually all students do. And you work, the class starts in September, it ends in May. So you're working for a full academic year on a project, and that means that the projects are very substantial, very substantive. And that's why, Capstone is really at the heart of bringing our students together with theory and practice. And so you can see the projects and the students. These are the numbers for this year, but this is roughly what we have every year. here's a handful of clients. I chose some to kind of give you a sense of the range of the kind of clients that we have. Some of them will be familiar to you. I can imagine the World Bank, a number of different New York City departments are clients. Achieve Mission Consulting is a small boutique consulting firm for nonprofits. They work in talent development and leadership development. MPA-Public is a really interesting organization. It was started by the guy, and I should know his name. It was started by the guy who created Kind bars. You know those bars that are now ubiquitous, like they're absolutely everywhere, the nuts, you know. So he obviously made lots of money, decided to use some of it to create an organization called MPA-Public, which is it's a startup. It brings together students in US classrooms with students in classrooms in other countries and uses a variety of virtual technologies to bring them together. Legal services here in New York City and elsewhere. Outward Bound Peace Building, I imagine you've heard of Outward Bound. I was always terrified to do it, but I really was very impressed by the people who chose to do it. You go off into the woods and you have to spend 3 days not eating anything. So they use there's a lot, like very serious team building techniques and great stuff. And so they've started taking those techniques and applying them to peace building. So they go into areas you might imagine in the Middle East, Northern Ireland areas, and bring together people in conflict and try to use those same tools. Rocky Mountain Institute does research, consulting, convening around issues of sustainability, especially the energy. And Urban Strategies Council, very proudly proclaims that it's about economic, political, social, racial justice. So again, just a smattering of our Capstone clients. So So I co-direct Capstone, very proud of Capstone, and very, very proud of the quality of the work that our Capstone students do. So we ask our clients to evaluate the students' work at 2 different points. We do it right at the end of when the product is handed over to the client in May, and then we do it again 6 months later. So we have a really good sense. So these are the numbers from last year. So this is on the clients on receiving their project, and they're immediately upon completion, and you can see how highly they ranked the quality of the project, whether the students were responsive to their organization. Really nice numbers there. Oops. And then this is 6 months later. So 6 months later, people are saying, 80% saying the work's having at least some lasting impact. 83% were implementing at least some of the team's recommendations. 90% the work is having at least some lasting impact on my organization. And I have to tell you, those numbers compare very favorably with the work of paid consultants. Those are great numbers. So I'm going to leave things there. Mostly, I just want to say, again, we're thrilled to have you, and we really hope that we'll see you in August at our new student retreat.